called on Gabon Ser, and he was a designer and builder of castles. And he lived and established many of the old citadels in castles in Ireland hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We're talking 500-600 years ago, when they were building, say, the Rock of Cashel, which is the family home of the Carney dynasty clan in Munster, North Tipperary, Cashel. That was built by the Gabon Ser. And he was also so famous in his ability to construct that he was also commissioned by the English lords to come over there and build some of the castles in England. So the term of Gabon Ser No, he told me this later on. In the town, it has a Freemason building right there in the open. It's one of the few towns in Ireland where they don't make it a secret, where it's not hidden in the Republic. Most of their places are secret, and there's no sign over the door, put it like that. But so, I didn't find it out late in life. And it was Ian Fleming that was surprised because somebody entrusted with all of his documents, his personal stuff. He expected to be somebody within the, fraternity. And he himself, well, the fraternity in Dublin, the lodge in the city of Dublin on Molesworth Street is the second biggest lodge or the third biggest lodge in the world. Most of the other lodges throughout the British military and naval establishment around the world, their mother lodge is not London, it's Dublin. And that's why all of these New World Order implementations, no smoking in public places, and all of this is implemented in Ireland first, okay? Because of that, for what it's worth.
Listen, Jim, how did you, when you knew the chief's, about Chief's father, right? When you guys met?
Yeah, when he told me what his father did for a living, I said, oh.
I was gonna ask you, like, did the population trust people like the chief's father? Like, I wanted to ask Jim, like, when
not where I grew up. We hated the customs and excise. We hated the police. We hated the establishment. I come from the most rebellious part of Ireland. And
but weren't they on your side, or did they also side with the Brits? Like, this is where, because I thought that someone like Chief's father would be on the side of the people, right?
He worked for the state, and the people of the state would support the state, but the poor borderline community, they would depend on running across the border for some of its goods on a regular basis.
I got that.
You might feel oppressed by the guard police force and the customs that would stop them and shake them down for the couple of quid, or write them a ticket and bring them to court over, it was considered from my father's enforcement and discussions on it. Unless somebody is really taking the piss and bringing in a few trailer loads of pigs at a time and stuff like this, the local, officer turned a blind eye to the guy on the bicycle or the boot of his car with a few pounds of butter and a few this and that. That was,
lenient. Jim, since you ran the goods, is that true? Like, were some officers lenient, or like, did you guys think that all of them were a-holes?
Well, I always thought that all of them were a-holes, but I never really had much contact with them because they had checkpoints on all the main roads. And then we had lots of we had a maze of tiny little country roads, which we used to use. And then they would hide on those roads and wait for us. We got into car chases with them. And then eventually the British Army came along and blew up all the little bridges, because there's usually rivers that separated the north from the south. So they blew up all the bridges, block off all the roads, so that there was only one main road open that you had to come through. So we would run stuff at night when the offices were shut, but they were still out there on the sides of the road waiting for us. But they
How
never
did you
caught
do
us.
it? How did you do it? Did you have to like walk across a river or something? Like, what was the scenery?
No. We drove fast cars.
Oh, you drove.
Or motorbikes, or yeah.
But
So,
did you hide? Did you hide the goods like really good? Did you have a stash in the car and everything? Because that's how we used to go to Poland from the Soviet Union.
Yeah, with all types of stuff. Yeah, we hide stuff, but then when you had so much stuff that you couldn't hide, you just had to floor it. And the chief has been in the car with me a number of times.
Oh yeah. Wait, hold on a second. Are you telling me that a son of an official was in the car?
No, not while we were, while I was active.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're talking about 30 years later.
But I got it.
My driving technique didn't change whether I was doing something or not. I used to scare the shit out of the chief all the time. I mean, I used to go everywhere just flat out, foot to the floor, and I had fast cars.
You're one of those drivers.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, maybe one of you guys can answer, like, maybe, was there a separation between the people that were kind of lower class financially and the people that were in the official offices and everything? Like, was there, that's why you say like, oh, I hated those guys? Like, was there a,
yes, of course. You had a mentality in the south of Ireland that was pro-British and would go along with the British and would implement every British rule and law, and they would turn on us, their own people. So we had a treason, and we still have a treasonous administration and bureaucracy in Ireland, and the rest, and we are rebels.
This is so crazy. Their techniques don't change. Just like the chief mentioned before, you got India and Pakistan. Right now you have Eastern Ukraine and Western Ukraine. One thing also that the chief said, I realized even some of the terms that they use, because in Ukraine we also have a Bloody Sunday. You understand? Like, they repeatedly use these ritualistic even days. We have a Bloody Sunday where something happened in Eastern Ukraine when the war started, and a lady with her kids, she covered her kids, she was bombed, and it's crazy that they use the same terms, they use the same technique by separating the same people, creating a north, creating a south, creating a class that's siding with them versus the class that's not siding with them. This is so freaking this is so interesting and mind-blowing. Chief, I wanted to ask you, like, so what were some of the things that your father revealed to you, since he was kind of in when he started to reveal these things? Like, what are some of these things that you found out and blew your mind, man?
Well, I was just surprised about that, because I remember as a kid being on a Sunday afternoon drive with him in Enniskerry, County Wicklow, which is the town that Ian Fleming retired to. And he had seen him just walking down the street, and he stopped to say hello and got out and had some words, and they, recognized each other. So it was afterwards that I asked my father who that was, and he told me who it was. And it wasn't until several years after, on his deathbed in hospital, when I asked him about Freemasonry, because he had told me, that he had been previously in his career invited to join on 2 occasions. And Ian Fleming being the third party to kind of say, well, I can give you a very good recommendation should you change your mind. He was still an active official at the time, but he was very close to his retirement. And he thought to himself, he was looking forward to his retirement, get back to his woodworking and things like that. He liked to do cabinet making and type of fine carpentry. as a pastime. And he was looking forward to his retirement. So the idea of then getting into Freemasonry at that late in his career in life, he didn't see the point, and he politely declined for a third time. So
what's the connect? What's
that's me.
Sorry, like what's the connection with Freemasonry and Ireland? Since you said that one of the biggest temple is over lodge. Lodge. Well, what's the connection between Freemasonry and Ireland?
Well, some would say we have.
They came over, and the place was full of masonry because it was all built already, and it was free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have a term.
So, anyway, that's wrong.
We have a character as well as a term relating to him from Irish folklore and history. More, his name, this character is called An Gubán Saor, and Gubán means a mason, and Saor means free. So this character from Irish mythology was called An Gubán Saor, and he was a designer and builder of castles. And he lived and established many of the old citadels in castles in Ireland hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We're talking 500-600 years ago, when they were building, say, the Rock of Cashel, which is the family home of the Kearney dynasty clan in Munster, North Tipperary, Cashel. That was built by the Gubán Saor, and he was also so famous in his ability to construct that he was also commissioned by the English lords to come over there and build some of the castles in England. So the term Gubán Saor, Gubán in Irish has many. Irish language has nuances, and sometimes, like Sanskrit, can have double meanings used depending on the context it's used in. So Gub is the name for a mouth, and Gubán means the speech, and Gubán Saor means free speech. So sometimes in the face of power, if the king or the high king gave an edict, on behalf of the people, this man would step forward and he would question that authority of the king, his decision. And he was known as the Gubán Saor. He represented the free speech, the free voice of the people. And if they had some reserve or question on the king's judgment, I'll give you an example. There's a story of the king and this widow. She had a flock of sheep, and her sheep broke out of her pasture and somehow or other encroached into the king's land and ate some of his crop. So he ordered that this lady's flock, her herd, be confiscated. And that would have left her in abject poverty and totally miserable. That wasn't acceptable to the people. So the Gubán Saor would step forward and say, no, this edict is not right. According to the Brehons of Irish law, all her sheep did was take some of the crop off your land. So the actual just penalty is that you can get just recompense from the fleece of her flock, but you cannot confiscate and take her flock. In this way, the Irish Brehons are very, very just and fair. And when the king heard that judgment coming from the Druid, because these Brehons and the Gubán Saor was usually a respected person high in the society. These Druids were recognized like that. And they knew all the legal affairs and the lineages and things like that. So their voice had to be heard in the court and was certainly not disrespected. So then the king would change his judgment in favor of the recommendation of this Gubán Saor. Then the people were pacified and justice was served. So that's just an example of another meaning of Gubán Saor. But originally, if you ask me, we had our own Freemason Gubán Saors who could do all that building and do it expertly according to ancient knowledge. In the same way, Masons in other parts of the world had the same knowledge.
So wait, so did Freemasonry at some point get hijacked also?
Yes, yes. It did.
Okay.
It got taken over by the Illuminatus in the late 1700s, and from there on, the late 1700s onwards, it's hijacked by this other parasitic entity.
In the mid Renaissance, you know what I realized, and maybe Jim and you, Chief, agree with me, because I'm sitting here and as you're speaking, I'm realizing, like, in Slavic countries, right, we have this sort of negative outlook to Western Europeans and Anglo-Saxons, right? Like, it's like we always think those are the colonizers and those are the bad guys. And, we always say Anglo-Saxons, we always say the Western Europeans. And just the same thing as in America, the black people think, oh, all white people are bad. Like right now, it's a crazy. So what I'm sitting here and realizing is we've all been bamboozled, man. We've all been given these false ideas. And our plight is very much the same. The enemy is the same, man. Jim,
let me add this.
Yeah.
Let me add this. We are not European. We are from an island in the Atlantic Ocean.
Exactly.
Now, they may come along now and tell us that we are civically European, but we are ethnically not European. We are Atlanteans from an island in the Atlantic Ocean. They come in and they took over. But the European Union is from that 1930s Germany party, the nasties. That's who they are. And I recently posted a video from Jean-Claude Juncker. And Juncker's family made bombers that bombed fucking Europe during the World War. He's now head of the European Commission. I made a video on him stating out loud in the European Parliament that he has been speaking with the leaders of other planets.
Yeah,
they're not happy with what's going on in the European Union. Yeah. I'm going, what the fuck? But these nasties from the 1930s Germany run the European Union, and what Mustache Man failed to do with tanks, they are succeeding with banks. So when we can be, our passports now say European passport. Before that, it used to say Republic of Ireland passport. So we've been dragged into this European monster by traitors. So
trickery.
Is that trickery. The Orwellian rule. Yeah. I wanted to say before, I really want to hear you out, Chief. I wanted to say, because Jim, you said something. I really wish that you guys would be able to read the Slavic Vedas. And the thing is that Vedas, they predate the Slavic Vedas, they predate the Sanskrit ones, actually. And even if you look at Mahabharata, they have a scene where the white gods come from the north to bring them the Vedas. But what I wanted to say is that how I know that the Slavic Vedas are an actual thing, because if you look it up, they say, oh, it's pseudoscience, it's not true, this and that. But how do I know that it's true? Because I actually know people that have lineages to people that seen the golden sleeves that the Vedas were written on. And so there's a story of where the white people, come from, the Aryans, where they come from, because Jim said Atlantis, but in the book it describes that we came from Hyperborea. Atlantis was formed a little bit later when another group of people arrived that developed under a different sun system. This is what the Slavic Vedas say. But what I wanted to say is, like, it's crazy how we've been infiltrated and we've been overtaken and the enemy is common. I wanted to ask you, Chief, since you've been, you and Jim, you guys are like pioneers, man. Like what is your mission right now? What do you really want to accomplish? What do you want to say to the Irish? What do you want to say to the Irish all over the world?